Well, you saw it there. I purposely put those Dubois pictures up because I think it's relevant to the conversation that we've been having lately of Usyk. Is he an all-time great heavyweight? We're gonna unwrap that here. But first, if you're new here, thank you for coming in and stopping in and watching the show. And if you're an older subscriber that's been supportive, thank you for doing that. Please like and share, and always comment down below. And if you have your own YouTube channel and boxing channel, hey, how about we connect down in the comments down below? Everybody post their channel up, subscribe to each other. Let's help each other out, because the more boxing channels out there, and or sport or fight sporting event type channels, that helps everybody out. So let's unwrap the situation about whether or not Usyk is an all-time great. Well, listen, okay, so let's start with the facts. The facts that Usyk is, one, he's the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. He's lineal. That is because Tyson Fury was the last lineal heavyweight champion, right? So when his belts were split up and he retired, essentially, before the Wilder fights, he had beat Klitschko. Klitschko was the lineal champion who had beat the last lineal champion, which escapes my mind, and I had it, but it's gone. So but you put it in the comments down below for me. Even though he came back and had not been heavyweight champion, he was the lineal heavyweight champion. So meaning he was the true last heavyweight champion who beat the man, who beat the man, who beat the man, who beat the man. That's the line. You trace it all the way back, right? But that doesn't mean because you're the lineal heavyweight champion of the world that you're the best. That just means that somewhere along the line, like, I'll give you an example. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but if there's a great champion at whatever weight class, insert weight class, right? And they're the lineal champion of that weight class, and they have beat the man who beat the man who beat the man. And let's just say for up to that moment, they have beat every great lineal champion, right? So forth and so on. And now that guy beat that guy, and that guy beat that guy, and so forth and so on. And then all of a sudden, there's a guy who comes along and beats this great champion by accident. I said maybe he caught him with a lucky shot, maybe the decision was rigged, whatever. And that guy decides to go on now and fight somebody else instead of rematching for some whatever reason, or maybe that fighter retires and now he's the lineal champion and he gets beat by so-and-so. The next person becomes the lineal champion as well, but did they beat the best, right? Okay, now you see where I'm going. But facts are he's lineal. He's undisputed in two different weight classes, cruiser and heavyweight. Currently, people are using the fact that he was undisputed in two different weight classes in cruiser, cleared it out, and went up to heavyweight. And in 7 fights, he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world and undisputed, I think, in the 7th or 8th time, right? He's the guy who became lineal by beating the guy who was recently undefeated, who had just, came back from out of a 2 years retirement, did the unthinkable and beat Wilder and these other guys, whatever. And now he's here. He's arrived. He is Usyk. Now, before we get into how we feel about Usyk, let's talk about his cruiserweight run. Now, they've been using the cruiserweight run to prove how good of a fighter he is, or how great of a fighter, and why he's a Hall of Famer. But I always say, once you beat a fighter, is what that fighter you beat does after you beat them. Meaning, how do they now help your win against them? Unless they were an aging fighter and then they retired. But if they didn't, what did they do after your loss? Did they go back and become champions? Did they do something great in the sport? Did they do something great in their division? And so forth and so on. I think that validates the win much more. Unless they were an aging fighter who decided to retire or something or other was wrong, right? Also, have you heard from them again, right? So I was going to go back to Usyk's career at cruiserweight as just for the last few, but let's go through the whole thing because he only has 23 fights, so it's actually not a big deal. But here's who he has, and bear with me, I'm going to read off my phone real quick. Here are his opponents, and let me know when you start noticing or recognizing names, right? So we're going to start from the very first fight he ever had, and we're going to move on from there, right? So Romero Mendoza, so Felipe Romero, Epifanio Mendoza, Ben Nasafoa, Cesar David Krentz, Daniel Brewer, Danny Venter, Andriy Kizyanov, Johnny Muller, Pedro Julio Rodriguez, Krzysztof Glowacki, Thabasio Muchunu, Michael Hunter, we know Michael Hunter, Marco Huck, I think I've heard him before, Maurice Bradis, we know Bradis, Gassiev, Tony Bellew, Chaz Witherspoon, Derek Chisora, Anthony Joshua twice, Daniel Dubois, Tyson Fury twice. How many did you recognize there? Number one, right? Do you know which ones were cruiserweights at that point? You have to keep that in mind. And two, how many of those are Hall of Famers? Now we can Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, 2 Hall of Famers. Really, if you ask me. Tony Bellew, a Hall of Famer. Brady's a Hall of Famer. Michael Hunter, a Hall of Famer. Okay, see where I'm going. So he clears out the cruiserweight division, which you, before I just told you, didn't know who any of those guys were. You still don't know. I don't know. I don't remember them. I remember him going through the. I think he went through a Super 6 type style tournament and cleared it out. Great. That was awesome. I never heard of those fighters again. You have never heard of those fighters again. Never seen them do anything great or potentially great, move up or down, nothing. You just never heard of them. Okay. So he's a blown up heavyweight. I think so when he beat Bellew, I mean, okay. Chaz Witherspoon, Chisora, Hall of Famer. Anthony Joshua, yes. Daniel Dubois, is he a Hall of Famer? We'll soon find out in Tyson Fury. We all know he got knocked out by Daniel Dubois. Now, Dubois did go on to be stopped in that fight. Granted, he did. It showed a lot of resolve from Usyk at that moment in time to come back from that and win in that way. But let's not get it mixed up. You saw that is on the line. He hurt him bad to the body. It was a horrific body blow. Knowing now what we know about his punching power of Dubois, that was a tough punch to take. He did what he had to do. I mean, he didn't ask the referee not to stop the fight. The referee just didn't stop the fight. So you're going to take what the referee gives you, and that's what he did. That's what anybody should do. So I'm not blaming him for that, but he did get knocked out to the body by Dubois, who then knocked out Anthony Joshua. So Dubois might be the best guy out the lot. Admittedly, that's crazy to say. Tyson Fury was the lineal champion, so he beat him, and I'll give it to him. He's a Hall of Famer. Anthony Joshua's a Hall of Famer just because he's a multiple-time heavyweight champion of the world and unified champion of the world, but he went hell and high water to death with an aging Klitschko. And he went hell high water to death with him. Tyson Fury beat Klitschko in the ugliest fight you ever seen in your life. Okay, so there you go. That's that as far as his career goes. Is he the best of his era? Yes, no question. He is the best heavyweight of his era. He's better than, the Wilders, obviously, the Zhangs, the Chisoras, the Tyson Furies, the Anthony Joshuas. Now, if you put him in the class of where a young Foreman, a young Lennox, a young Klitschko, and then take it back a little further, Razor Ruddock, a young Mike Tyson. I'm talking about old Mike Tyson when he was doing blow later on. And I mean, Mike Tyson from 19 to 23. Could Usyk stop that guy? No. Usyk cannot stop that guy. Usyk would not have beaten Evander Holyfield at cruiser. No way. I mean, Kawhi, could he have beat Kawhi? No. No, he couldn't have. I don't even see remotely where that guy, because that guy went to heavyweight and he was like 5'6" and gave them hell. Him and Evander, I remember when I first saw Kawhi fight Evander, it was one of the I was like, wow. Okay, so you say, well, that was old boxing. Who knows what they will do now? And easy. Since about the mid 70s, that is vintage. Or even 70s, maybe late 60s, it's been the same boxing except for the rounds, 15 rounds. But it's not like you see them like this, right? It's boxing how we know boxing now. And you can tell just by ring generalship and the way they were fighting who would beat who had the better skills. You could pluck those guys and put them in any era. It's not like basketball where they have different eras, right? Where you have a different system, a pointing system, things like that. It's not like that at all. Like, oh, he can't get away with that in this era of basketball because, if you put, Dr. J in this era, he wouldn't get as many points, right? Things like that. It's not like that. It's 10-point must-score system. Sometimes the 3 knockdown rule wasn't effective depending on where state you were in. It was not universally adopted, etc. 2 to 3 belt eras, got it. But the styles and the rule, like the style of fighting, you could see it's modern boxing. It has maintained that way. So you can switch them up. And I'm telling you right now, while I'm not saying he would have been a scrub, I'm not saying he would have been undefeated. He wouldn't have been undisputed twice in 23 fights because that would have put him as the greatest of all time had he fought in those eras. He didn't. He's fighting a very weak heavyweight division. You saw the cruiserweight. You can't pick them out of a lineup like at all. Like you need a detective to find out who they are. So at the end of the day, He gets credit for AJ. He gets credit for Tyson Fury. That's it. 2 fights. And those fights, aside for Tyson Fury, which I give him all the credit in the world because I think he's the best, and that really, he's better than AJ. So AJ, even though he's a Hall of Famer, you could see all his flaws and what ended up being. He's not an all-time great. I don't even know who you take off the top 10 to put Usyk in. I don't even know where to begin, right? I don't even know, and blasphemous are the people who saying he's better than Ali. Are you crazy? Just stop it. Ali would have stopped and Cassius would have stopped Usyk. So needless to say, while I agree he's the best of this era, you won't get that argument from me. He is not an all-time great. If you want to put him at an all-time great, maybe you put him at top 10, maybe some in the top 30, 40, around there. Definitely not top 10. You're crazy if you do, in my opinion. But let me know down below. What do you think? You think I'm crazy? You think that he's an all-time great and he's greater than these other heavyweights? Let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'm out. And don't forget to actually comment down below whether you have a YouTube channel or not. And let's all connect. See you in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.